All right, greetings. Welcome in. Bettor's Last Stand. Matt here with you. Solo again. I think this might be my last solo show, as some of the guys may be interested with the thing called football that's starting up tomorrow. We're hopeful that some of the guys will be back here giving you their input and analysis, but until then, it'll be Sam and I today. Jubb may be here, but he's got a lot of other things going on right now, so he's trying to get some other duties taken care of. He was going to join us today to give us some of his insight into the UFC card this week. But, priorities, that's how it works. Anyway, we'll try to get you through, try to get you some winners, talk about last week, talk about MLB trade deadline. Football, as I said, starting up tomorrow with the Hall of Fame game up in Canton, Ohio. Then we have CFL. CFL will be in week 9 this week. Talk a little golf action, the Wyndham Championship. Not a great field, but not terrible either. Big 3, week 7 here. It's the final regular season week. They actually cut down to a few teams who are ineligible for the playoffs already, so they're starting to whittle that down. You got one more week after this, and then they into their finals. So winding down with that too as football approaches. UFC Fight Night, I was going to talk about that if Jubb was here, but if not, I don't have a whole lot to lend to that, but we'll briefly touch on last week's UFC 291. Then we'll talk racing in the last segment of the show with Sam the Man from Upper St. Clair. We have F1 is on their summer break, so they get a few weeks off right now from traveling the world. I'm sure it's nice to reset, get your body clock back where you live. It's probably a nice thing for those guys. So they'll be back here in a few weeks, and they'll head to the Netherlands, where Max Verstappen is from, and he will likely dominate the Dutch Grand Prix as he has before. So we got that to look forward to. But this week we got Indy Car at Nashville, and we got the NASCAR boys are up at Michigan. So exciting race card. World Cup soccer underway. Got AFL action, round 21. We're winding down there. Only about 4 weeks left. And then they'll be in their finals. So playoffs approaching in the AFL, NASCAR, Big 3. So lots to talk about here. And then we'll go over a few other things in the news, sports related. So let's not waste any time. Major League Baseball trade deadline was yesterday. If you're listening to this show on Friday morning, it was 3 days ago. Winners and losers. I don't know if that can be assessed immediately, but some of the teams that you think were probably going to be buyers ended up not buying. Some that you thought were going to be sellers ended up not selling. So it was definitely an interesting day. I wouldn't call it super exciting from the side of a lot of big pieces being moved, but nevertheless, if you have a team in the fight, you were either very happy or very sad or a little bit in between. So I think the highlights probably Verlander and Scherzer on the move. Scherzer moved actually before yesterday, but Verlander moved late yesterday to the Astros. There's a big shift there. Gives them now a second ace. They got Framber Valdez. Now they got Verlander back, and we know how he performs in the playoffs. So you have to expect Houston to be a serious contender. They're built to win games like 4-3, those kinds of games. They don't have the greatest lineup, but they have some really timely hitting players. Altuve, Bregman, Jeremy Pena last year. I mean, Tucker to an extent, and then of course Yordan Alvarez packs just a wallop in the middle of the lineup. So the Astros can never be counted out. And now that they have another arm to rely on, they really needed to get a second guy to be able to go 1-2 with Framber Valdez, and now you have some other guys that can now turn over to the bullpen and give you innings out of there. So the Astros, rightfully so, took a little slice down. I think they're around 6-1 right now. That makes sense. I think in the American League, it's going to be a tough league to get through. You have the AL East, which is loaded, and you have the West that's pretty good. So I don't think the Central obviously is going to do anything, so that's going to be basically like a freebie. But the American League is going to play much more difficult than the National League in the playoffs. I don't think any of the National League teams did anything enough to move the needle past me thinking that the Braves and the Dodgers are the two best teams. I don't love the Dodgers. I don't love their pitching at all. They tried to add Eduardo Rodriguez yesterday, but he vetoed the trade for some reason. I cannot understand that. And to me, that just says you're basically a loser and you're afraid to pitch in the big spotlight, and you'd rather just stay on a bad team. And that's, to me, that basically just tells you that a guy went for money to the place that he's at, and he doesn't care about helping another team. He's not concerned about his own image. He's a coward, basically. I mean, that may be a strong word, but he doesn't want to pitch in a big time spotlight game or series. So he vetoes a trade to the Dodgers. It's just bizarre to me, but it's also bizarre to me that a guy of just marginal talent like him, he's left-handed, but he would even have a no-trade clause in his contract whatsoever is just astounding. And it shows you, in our world today, you can't upset anybody. Yeah, everybody's got to get their own way. So anyway, hope he's enjoying Detroit. He beat the Pirates today, which that doesn't say much. But Braves and Dodgers still the top two to win the World Series right now. I got to agree with the Braves. I don't really, like I said, I don't love the Dodgers pitching, so I'd be a little bit concerned about that. National League, to me, is almost a two-horse race. I just don't know if anybody else can threaten the Phillies. You think they have the lineup maybe, but I don't love their pitching. And I know they made a couple acquisitions. They got the kid from Lorenzen from Detroit, but he's not going to be able to pitch in a big environment. I just don't see that being a great move. Diamondbacks made a few moves. I'd like to see them hang around, but I don't think they're good enough. The Giants are a team I thought that if they could have made a couple of moves at the deadline, that they could be contenders because they play so fundamentally sound. And like him or not, Gabe Kapler's done a pretty good job once he's settled into this role as manager. Good pitchers park. They can win low-scoring games. The Giants don't beat themselves, but I just don't think they're going to have enough lineup-wise and maybe at the top of their rotation, especially when they go on the road. Padres are the team, though. They ended up standing pat. They didn't unload resources. They kept Snell. They kept Hader. They kept Soto. So they actually made a couple of acquisitions. So that to me told me that when they swept Texas over the weekend, their guys said, you know what, we can still. If we get in, we're dangerous, and I agree with that. So Padres were a team I was pretty high on at the beginning of the year. Haven't been impressed with them so far, but a team like that, they're hovering around, they're hanging in there. It's a tough division. If they get in, they're going to have a really good chance to make some noise like they did last year. So Padres right now, to me, intrigue me a little bit in the National League just because of that. They're 20-1 to win the National League, and I don't think that's a terrible price. Because of their bad start, everybody thinks they suck, but they don't. They have a really good roster on paper. If they can get it hot, stay hot right now, they just swept Texas, who's a really good team. So I think the Padres present a little bit of value in the National League. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot. Phillies at 12-1, that's too short for me. Brewers 16, Giants 14, just too short. Maybe the Diamondbacks if you really, and then the Reds maybe 22-1. I have no faith in the Marlins. I know they acquired Josh Bell. I just don't think the Marlins hit well enough. I know he may help that a little bit. They just, and their bullpen to me, it's just not, the back end of their bullpen is not that good. So be major passers on the Marlins. The Brewers pick up Mark Canha, and they added another bat too. I'm trying to think who it was. Oh, from the Pirates, yeah, Santana. Santana and Mark Canha, neither one of those guys. Santana actually is a pretty decent acquisition for them. I think he's the kind of guy that could hit a big home run in a playoff game. So I like that acquisition for them. Mark Canha, he's warning track power at best and just not very good. Just another guy the Mets wasted money on to bring in they thought was good. He's a fourth or fifth outfielder, if you ask me. I think he can play a little bit at corner infield maybe too, but not a very good player. Just way overpaid, and don't expect him to do anything for Milwaukee. Shifting over to the American League, still absolutely baffles me that the Tampa Bay Rays are favored to win the American League. I don't think that people in my profession, apparently other than me and some others, watch these games. If you watch Tampa Bay play over the last month plus, you can tell there's something wrong with that team. Their team is not getting along. There's issues in the clubhouse I detect. This team is tanking, and the only reason that they're winning right now is they're playing New York. So they're not going to win the American League. I can guarantee you that Tampa Bay will not win the American League. Somehow they're favored. It's mind blowing to me that they're ahead of the Astros right now, and that's just insane. So I would not recommend a bet on them at 2.5 to 1 to win the American League and $5 to win the World Series. I'm not sure that there's more than 5 teams in baseball that they could beat in a 7-game series right now. The Pirates will probably be one of them, but they're not a team that's playing well right now. They need a lot of work, and I just don't see them rediscovering it. And they're in a very tough division. Playing the Yankees is one thing. The Yankees gave a listless performance last night. They are absolutely finished. They are a laughing stock in baseball. How their manager and how Aaron Boone and their general manager Brian Cashman keep jobs every year is just ridiculous. They literally like bank robbers. I don't know how they can possibly hold employment. They've defiled that organization. They're not even a contender. They didn't even make a move yesterday. It shows you how bad they think they are. They have no shot. They're absolutely toast. And Tampa beat up on them. That's not saying much. Tampa's still going to have to deal with Baltimore, Toronto, Boston, and that's not going to be easy. So I have zero faith in the Rays. I've been saying it all year. They were dressed up. They're frauds, and they are performing like it. So I highly recommend not betting them. But if you really like them, go for it. But the price is not where you want it to be right now. They are just way too low. Texas 3-1, Houston 3.5-1, Baltimore 6-1. Those are the teams that you probably want to be interested in. Baltimore adds Jack Flaherty. He's not an ace. He's not really a number one of any kind. He's an improvement for them. So I'm not disappointed in that regard for the Orioles, but I do think that they really screwed up by not trying to get Verlander. They should have tried to get Verlander and Flaherty. So then they have a 1 and a 2. And if they had a 1 and a 2 right now, I'm telling you, Baltimore is a legit contender. And as much as I like the Orioles, you got to be realistic. I don't think they're going to have enough pitching to win the World Series. Cano, his arm slot there's a problem with him, and the bullpen's still all right. It's still pretty sturdy, even with him having some struggles right now. But they don't have enough front end pitching, and I don't think they're going to be able to outslug teams. And I love the team. They're playing well. They're enthusiastic. They're really, really fun to watch. But they're probably a year early. Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman are going to be 2 of the top 5 players in baseball here before too long. Both of these guys are like generational talents. And next to Ohtani, there's nobody that you will see that's like worth the price of admission any more than those 2 guys. So keep an eye out for them. They're going to be MVP contenders, both of them, very soon, which is probably going to work against them because they're going to split votes. But 2 absolute studs, and they got plenty of other guys that are there too that are really, really good. But I just don't think they got enough arms. I mean, Flaherty would have to return back to his near Cy Young caliber from about 3 years ago. He's been hurt since then, had some arm problems, so I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. Maybe Gibson or Grayson Rodriguez is a guy who was untradeable for the Orioles. He's one of their top prospects. Hasn't panned out to be as consistent as they want him to be, but he's working his way. I don't know. He's got electric stuff. If he can stay with it, maybe he lucks out and wins a couple of big playoff games. But I just don't think they got enough to get it done. I would say Houston and Texas are the teams in the American League that are dangerous. I think Toronto could be, but they even concern me a little bit pitching wise. I don't trust their guys in big games, and they played a big series with the Orioles, and that's a good sign for the Orioles. The Orioles had big series in Tampa. They won 3 of 4, and they're going for a sweep, or at least 3 games. I think they play 4 with Toronto, but they beat Toronto the first 2 nights, and they're going to play them again. I worry about Toronto's top level pitching in big games, so that's a little bit of a setback for me. I would like to see them add another arm, but lineup wise, they can match with just about anybody. They added a piece to the bullpen. They got Paul DeYoung in case Bo Bichette's out, so they have some depth. They got a good team, but not sure they can get it done. The Red Sox team, I'm disappointed in. I actually had that down as a bad beat. Yankee and Red Sox fans did nothing. Just when's the last time those teams weren't involved in some heavy trade deadline talks, and neither one of them make any big moves. And I know the Red Sox are getting some guys back, Sale and Story, but Sale's done. He's not going to be able to pitch deep into games, and Story's pretty good, but I don't know. I still like the Red Sox. I still think they can make the playoffs. I like them a lot better than the Yankees and the Rays, I can tell you that. And I think they make a serious bid for Ohtani in the offseason, and I think that's why they didn't make a move. You heard me say a few weeks ago I thought they were going to try to trade for him, but when he went off the market, I think they just said, you know what, we're going to save all of our bullets, and we're going to fire in the offseason. And I think they'll have a really good chance to get him. They've had a lot of successful Japanese players in Boston over the years, Daisuke Matsusaka and many, many other guys who have been key parts of that team. And they have the Yoshida now. I mean, these guys have had a lot of success in Boston. So I think he's going to maybe take a look at Boston this offseason. So look for the Red Sox, but at 22-1, I wouldn't rule them out. Twins and Guardians have zero chance. Neither one of them did anything at trade deadline. Neither one of their teams is really good enough to even be a playoff team, but they have to get in because they're in a terrible division. Back to the divisions, the Rays minus 108 to win the AL East, just ludicrous. They're not going to win that division. The Orioles are without a doubt better than them. Toronto's better than them, and Boston's better than them. I know they dug themselves holes, so Toronto and Boston are a little bit too far behind to be, in regards of betting them to win the division. But I just don't see how you could lay down 108 on Tampa. I just think that'd be just insane. The Central, I still think Cleveland may get Minnesota. It's a battle of two horrible teams. Cleveland plus 275, though, I think is a little bit of value on them. The Astros, I think, hold off the Rangers, but that's going to be a good showdown. Both teams actually minus money right now. Braves have theirs cinched up. I think the Cubbies are still alive. We kept talking about them. They were 9-1, then they were 7-1, then they were back to 8-1, and now they're down to 4-1. Playing good baseball right now. Big series with the Reds. They took one last night from Cincinnati. Cincinnati plus 125, and the Brewers are plus 110. So basically, they are dead even co-favorites in the NL Central. But the Cubs are the team, though, that I would say extreme value on. Cardinals sold off a lot of assets. Pirates, not even worth mentioning. Dodgers now pretty strong favorite in the West. Giants, D-backs, Padres, all in contention for playoff spots. So that's my take on MLB. I think it's going to be quite an interesting few weeks here as we head towards the playoffs, and no better time of year than that. October, if you're a football person, but you also get baseball, and that's what I like in October. There's absolutely nothing better than playoff baseball. It's without question, arguably the best sport on earth during the playoffs. So looking forward to seeing how the playoffs play out with the new rule changes. And they're not so new. They started the season, but anyway, they haven't had these in the playoffs. Is my point. I think it'll be very unique and very cool, and can't wait for that. So excited. Teams that you want to fade, though, you can see them right now, plain as day. The New York Yankees, first and foremost, they are complete quitters. The Mets, I'll give credit. They're at least trying to play hard. I think they're trying to prove some people wrong. They're going to go through a little bit of a rebuild phase. They unloaded two giant, expensive arms. But their Mets are playing hard. They're just not very good. So I think you could see a lot of overs in Met games. They trade away two aces, although they haven't performed like aces, or the Mets wouldn't be in this hole. But they've started to stabilize now. Bullpen is a disaster. It has been all season. It's only going to get worse. You're going to have a lot of guys coming up from the Mets that are unproven starters to fill in innings. So I think the Mets are an over team. I think the Yankees are a fade almost all the time. I think, let's see, the Minnesota Twins, I think, are a play against. I didn't think they did anything at the deadline. I think they'll start to unravel pretty quickly. Most people would say Boston, but I think Boston has their prize. They have some enough young, good guys that they're probably saying, you know what, if we finish this out, with strong, make the playoffs, and then get Ohtani, and then we're a World Series contender next year. Cubs are an absolute play on. Keep on them. They're going to continue to play hard. The Angels are worrying me. They made some moves. It wasn't enough. I think they're a fade team. I would seriously consider. Seattle's a team to watch. They moved some guys. They didn't really bring anybody in. They didn't fire sale, so I think they're kind of just trying to go back to the drawing board, maybe get set up for next year. I think they make a huge run at Ohtani. So I think Seattle's a team to watch. If they start to fall out of it, they may just say, we're done for the year. But you never know how clubhouses are going to react. Cardinals will probably be a play against, although they have a lot of pride in the organization. The White Sox are an absolute fade. They don't want to be there. They're really, really bad. The Pirates are pretending that they care still, but they're just not very good. A's, Kansas City, probably fade. Don't fade the Nationals, though. The Nationals are a team that plays very, very hard. They had another walk-off win today. They're up and coming, so I don't expect them to go in the tank. They may lose a lot of games, but it's not going to be from lack of effort from their young core. So those are some teams. The Marlins are a team I would start to fade too. They can't hit enough to stay in games. It's a really tough division. Although the Phillies are starting to have played well the last few weeks, the Mets not so much. Nationals are gritty. I think the Marlins fall out of contention very quickly. So those would be teams that I would consider fading. But first and foremost, the Yankees. If you watched them last night, you could just see it. They're done. So they got Garrett Cole going tonight. He's not even that great, but he probably will give up 2 or 3 runs, and they'll probably lose to the Rays anyway. So keep an eye on that. That's the baseball roundup right now. Lots of good stuff. If you want to talk more baseball, listen to our radio show. We talk about it a lot. We're on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, but in a couple of weeks, we'll be shifting to Friday. We'll be doing Football Friday shows out at the, I believe we're going to be doing them at the Gumbies. We're not certain on that yet, but that's in the works here. So at the Watchdog Studio, we'll probably be out on remote location on Friday afternoons for a Football Friday feature, doing high school, college, and pro breakdowns. Probably have some good guests on as well, so stay tuned for that. But we talk a lot of baseball on our show every day. As I said, Monday 2 to 3, 12 to 3 on Tuesday and Thursday. It'll eventually be 12 to 3 on Friday, but we'll mix in some baseball definitely on the football show anyway, because you just can't not do that. You have to go where the interest is, and that's what we'll do. So if you want more baseball talk, please tune in, and be sure and listen to us each week. Our podcast drops on Thursdays, this show on Fridays, and then Soup and Stuff every couple of weeks as Soup continues to track down great guests. And we've had a lot of good guests. We had Cody Duncan on yesterday from Rum Bunter on the radio talking Pirates trade deadline, and as he was talking with us, we actually had a Pirate trade, so it was pretty cool stuff. It was a good discussion with Cody, and we've had a lot of really good guests. I had Mike McNeil, professional gambler. I'm going to eventually have him on this show. Great card player and very sharp handicapper. So as football comes nearer, probably have Mike on the show again. But if you missed any of our guests, you can check all that stuff out. Jub will have those archived, and then I think you can find them on the WKKX Watchdog site eventually as they continue to revamp the studio down here and really make things nice for us here. All right, shifting over a little bit, let's talk a little bit of football, because I know that's what everybody cares about. All right, so here's how things go. The Browns and the Jets tomorrow in the Hall of Fame, which will be last night, so I'm not going to break that game down. I gave you under 33.5 last week. It stayed at 33.5. Jets are minus 1.5. Don't really like a side there. It's hard to tell what could happen. Just one guy's going to make a play, and that game will probably be like 10-9 or 9-7 or something really low scoring. College Football Week 0, August 26th. It's just a few weeks away. We are going to start doing our conference previews. I was hoping to do one today, but I didn't have anybody else with me to do it. If we have to, I'll just do it all myself. But anyway, week 1 is September the 2nd, so we're gonna start pumping out these season previews of the conferences, teams we like, some of the future bets we like, whether it's player props in the NFL, whether it's to win the conference in college, make the playoffs, win totals, whatever interests us, whatever interests you. If you have things you want to hear us break down more of, if you want winners, if you like. I say you want winners. We all want winners. But if you want to try to win in win totals, or you would rather us go strictly on small conferences, or breaking down who will win the biggest conferences and make the playoffs, or in NFL, if you want season player props, or you want to make or miss the playoffs, or exact division outcomes that you can parlay, email us, contact@thepioneeringpodcast.com. Call our show at WKKX 304-214-1600. Let us know what you want, because I'll take demands. I'm pretty into all this stuff. So making numbers and presenting numbers and getting them ready for the season. I'm ready to give you whatever advice I can. I'm not going to say it's going to be right. We all know how that goes, but I'll give you an honest opinion. That's one thing you should know about me and most of the guys on the show is we're going to tell you what we think, and we're not always going to be right, but a lot of times we are. So last year's NFL and college season-long bets for us were outstanding. Luke, Coach, and I, we probably gave out 75% winners on our long-term futures. Maybe it was better than that. I know I cited those numbers way back, and I'll actually pull those out and try to find that for next week. But I'm not just saying that. We did very well, and we're very transparent. We're not people that are going to sit here and tell you we're going to always have winners. We're in a little bit of a funk right now. We've had some some good ones. So if you're a sports-specific bettor and you have happened to stay on our certain plays in each sports sector, then perhaps you're turning profits still, because we have had some sports where we've been doing pretty steadily well at, but others we haven't been. Golf's been a struggle lately. NASCAR, been upside down and turned around on that. And, we're pretty dialed in on that stuff. So, it just sometimes it just goes with the bad luck. But anyway, we're going to do conference previews and division previews in the NFL. So the week of the 9th, we're going to do the AFC and NFC South, along with the ACC and SEC in college. Then on the week of the August 16th, we're going to do AFC and NFC West and the Big 10 and the Big 12, the Mountaineers. Pick to finish last. We're going to do those on 8/16. 8/23, we're going to do the NFC and AFC East and the Pac-12, and then we'll do the Week 0 card, and then give you any other teams and other conferences that maybe we like, small conference win totals or to win their outrights, whatever it may be. And then the final one on 8/30, that'll be August 30th. That is the week of, so I know the show tapes on those days, and then you'll get it 2 days later. So for those dates, it'll be coming out the Friday of those dates that I'm saying, AFC North and the NFC North, and then we'll do college football Week 1, go through the entire card. So we're excited about that. I know a lot of people are pumped about football. I'm not so much, but it's part of the job, and that's the way it goes. And it's not my favorite thing anymore, but I'm very involved in it and very dialed into it. So whether or not I like it or not doesn't really mean that I can't pick winners or have decent analysis. All right, shifting over to the football that I do like. It's the Women's World Cup. We're down to the knockout stage. By the time you hear this, the round of 16 will be set. We only have a couple of games left to determine spots. Germany, who is my pre-tournament pick, had a horrible performance their last game, and they lost. So now they're in a bind right now. They're going to end up having to play France, most likely, which is going to be a little bit of an issue, but it doesn't mean they can't. If they can get by France, then they get the winner of Australia and Denmark. Not saying it's over, but right now things have shifted to the point where England, in my opinion, is a strong favorite in this tournament. I think they're, without question, they have the best route, and I think that the English ladies are going to be set up to make a pretty good journey here. They're going to take on Nigeria, then they get the winner of probably Colombia and Jamaica. Teams that are very score challenged, and England's very good in the back, and they have a lot of talent up front. So the young sister of Reece James has been just exceptional, and England, to me, is very, very likely to come out of the right side of the bracket. The United States, told you I wasn't really on them. I didn't think their team was that great. They're proving that they're not. They're getting criticized right now, well, only by Carly Lloyd, who's just exceptional. If you're not aware of that, she's taking criticism now from other media members because she was too harsh on the United States women. Well, the United States women have been terrible. Drawing with Portugal is unacceptable. And for a team that was a huge tournament favorite here to have 3 awful performances, they really should be out of this tournament. The Netherlands unfortunately gave up a pretty late goal in the second half. The USA played a decent second half, but Lindsey Horan has saved this team, and without her, they're going home. And the U.S. women are upset because Carly Lloyd, who's one of the best players that ever played there, one of the classiest ladies that you'll ever see, she's a great analyst, and she tells the truth, and she upset them by saying, this didn't look. She just saw a lot of deficiencies in their team, and she's right. You can't be drawing with Portugal in the World Cup and expect people to not criticize you. But this is what our media has come to. We only can say things that flatter the athletes, never to criticize. But USA's old. They don't have a lot of great players. They become social justice warriors more than athletes, and that's basically Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan and a few others. But I feel sorry for girls like Lindsey Horan and a couple of the other younger girls on the team because they actually are great representatives of the United States. And while I'll cheer for them, I probably won't really cheer for the team, sadly. But England is the team to beat right now. I think they have the most favorable draw. I think they're going to be very, very tough to beat. Japan. We gave you Japan last week as a dark horse. They're playing exceptional. They're going to take on Norway. It's going to be a really good match, but I think the Japanese can win that match. USA will play Sweden, and I think the USA should actually be an underdog in this game. Sweden, so much better tactically, so much better organized, so much better camaraderie on the pitch. You can see it. I would not be playing USA there. If you want to root for the USA, that's fine. I would bet a total. I would bet an under or something like that, but I don't know. I don't see any way that they're going to make a deep run here, but who knows? It could change. Things change quickly. Momentum switches, and the USA, is not without talent. So you can't completely rule them out, but I'll be fading them. The Netherlands will take on South Africa in a pretty good battle. It's a great matchup for the Dutch. They should win that match for sure. And then they get to play Spain or Switzerland. Switzerland's been very good. Spain, not super impressive. So I think the Swiss will give them a battle. And then the Netherlands, I think, is strong coming out of the top left of the bracket. And I don't see there to be any reason, the two teams we gave you last week, that Japan and the Netherlands would not meet in the semifinals for a chance to go play probably England on the right side, unless the Germans can get hot, and they can definitely beat France and then the winner of Australia and Denmark. But Germany's up against it now. They put themselves in a hole. So I would say right now I would predict that England plays either the Dutch, the Netherlands, Holland, what have you, whatever you choose to call them, or Japan. I think Japan right now, but I can't really discount Sweden either, because Sweden's been really impressive to me. So the winner of the Japan-Sweden game, if Sweden's able to beat the United States and Japan beats Norway, I think will be a great game. But some good teams in the left side. A couple teams we gave you at big prices last week, so hopefully you got on them. Pre-tournament favorite Germany. Hopefully they can go for a little bit longer, because we got Alexandra Popp to win the scoring, the Golden Boot, and she's got 3 or 4. I think she's got 4 now, so hopefully she keeps going, and we keep it going with some winners there. But be sure and check our Twitter out. It's hard for me to give these out right now at the prices and with the matchups not certain. So we'll have them on our BLS_PRP. That's our Twitter handle for Bettor's Last Stand. And then you can follow us at the Pine Room Studios on all social media to find out the picks. We'll have them posted on Instagram, Facebook, and then the regular Pine Room Studios Twitter. So that does it for segment 1 here at Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to take a break right now, and then we're going to come back, talk some CFL, talk a little golf, a little Big 3, and then get our AFL roundup of the week. It's Bettor's Last Stand. Matt with you solo here, taking you up through MLB trade deadline, World Cup, and all the things that are happening this weekend. Hall of Fame football game tomorrow night up at Canton, or last night if you're listening to the show on Friday. It's Bettor's Last Stand. We'll be right back.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back. Bettor's Last Stand. Matt here, flying solo with you on episode number 47. Hard to believe. The Playmakers number in college, Michael Irvin. So that's a good number. We've done, hopefully you've enjoyed the show, 47 installments of it. We took some time off. I was gone and had a few cancellations here and there, but can always follow us on Twitter. I try to give out picks that I'm not able to get here in a timely manner, or in between the time the show's taped and the time that you can hear it. Put the stuff up on social. So check us out, BLS_PRP, at the Pine Room Studios, all over social media. Last week wasn't a great week for us. We were down 3 units. I'm not going to say it was great or bad or any. I mean, 3 units is 3 units. Certain areas we did well. F1 was pretty strong. We had winners with Ocon and Verstappen. I had a nice one with Mercedes in the top 6 and double Red Bull podium. So if you did F1, you're ahead. We were 3-1 in the Big 3 finally. Finally did decent there. AFL 8-10, not great. Had some really horribly bad beats, I guess you could say, but that's just the way it goes in sports. And had a couple winners in NASCAR with Logano, I think it was Logano, and Brad Keselowski. But not great. We haven't been super in NASCAR. Haven't got a winner. 3-3 in soccer, but we do have futures alive, and gave you some pretty decent ones last week. Jubb even getting on the board, as he had Bo Hostler, a nice top 20 finish for him. I think he almost was in the top 15. So good win there for Jubb. He was up almost a unit in golf. He had just 2 picks, and then in NASCAR he was 0-2. But again, a little bit of bad luck. The 2 picks that he gave weren't bad. It was just needed some track position and couldn't end up getting it. So anyway, we hope you're sticking with us. A lot of times this time of year, people get sick of betting the same old stuff. So hopefully you've tried something new. Maybe you like a couple of these new sports that we've been talking about, whether it's Big Three, soccer, AFL. Don't hesitate to try something new. They all pay the same. So if you can find value, find something you're good at, try it. It's worth rolling the dice in, and we're trying to help you learn too, so you can formulate your own opinions. You don't have to listen to my opinion at all. You may want to say I'll go against him every time. Well, you probably do okay at that sometimes, certain runs, but I think our evaluations on the show are pretty fair, pretty dialed in, and we're not going to sugarcoat things and hide behind fake statistics that don't matter and things like that. Very, very opinion driven and visually driven program, whether it's just watching games, just watching flow and getting involved in play. You can't learn enough by watching. You just constantly are picking up things in all sects of sports. So keep up that good work if you're doing it. Let's jump over. Actually, let me first remind you that our show today is brought to you by IC Cab. We talked to Phil Savaggio, the owner and operator of IC Properties, all the things they do. There's job placement and the cab service, which is a sponsor of us. We appreciate their support. Had a great chat with Phil. Think Jub's going to put it in our podcast, so go back and check it out. We talked to him down at the Upper Ohio Valley Italian Festival last week along with Mayor Glenn Elliott, and it was a good day. Phil was insightful. He does a great job. He's very passionate about what he's brought to the community here in Wheeling, so thanks to him. And be sure and arrange your cab. So if your car's broke down, if your Tauntaun or your Bantha's not running, call IC Cab 304-232-1313 today. Get on there, arrange your ride for the weekend. Get out there and get set up so you're not driving drunk or you're needing to get to work, whatever it is. They'll take care of you. You can visit them at iccab.com. And Phil announced that we have a brand new app for IC Cab that's out right now, so you can download that on the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store. Get on there right now. Get with IC Cab. So whether you're having a good day, bad day, or in between, IC Cab will get you to where you need to go. Give them a call, 304-232-13, or that app. We urge you to use the app. It's very good and will help you out immensely. All right, let's go over to the CFL. CFL, again, won a strong week. I think I was 1-3. I'm having a hard time getting a grip on these teams. They've been very hard to figure out, very Jekyll and Hyde kinds of performances. I'm really not sure who the best team even is. Week 8s were 4-0 to the under, 3-1 favorites were. I really don't know who the best team is, but anyway, we're going to take you through a couple of these games. Winnipeg plays Thursday, so you won't see it. I'd lean towards the Bombers minus the 4.5 against BC. Total 44.5 in that, no opinion. Friday, Toronto at Calgary. Toronto minus 8.5. The total is 51. I'm going to be going with the Argonauts on the road here. It's a little risky. 8.5 on the road. That seems like a lot. If it gets up there to 10, don't play it. But if you get 8.5, I think you take a chance. And you're going to go with the under, at least I am, 51 on that. I'm going to play the Argos and under. Saturday, Montreal visits Hamilton. The Alouettes, a 1.5 point road dog here. This will probably be right around a pick 'em. You may want to take a money line shot here with Montreal. They're got even money. They may even tick up to plus 120, plus 130. 46.5 is the total. That's what I like in the game. I'm going to be going over 46.5. Montreal and Hamilton on Saturday. Sunday's matchup, Ottawa and Saskatchewan. This is at Saskatchewan. The Red Blacks on the road, a 1.5 point road favorite. The total, 44.5. Saskatchewan has covered the last 3 times at home in the series. So I'll be taking the Rough Riders with the points or even maybe a little bit of money line sprinkled in. Hopefully it gets up maybe to a field goal, but if that's the case, maybe there's a little steam on Ottawa and you want to back off. But I'll be going with Saskatchewan. So that'll conclude our CFL for the week. We're getting about midway through their season, so they'll have playoffs coming up here in the relatively near future. All right, let's go over to golf. Golf's been a little rough. We've had a couple of close calls, but can't seem to cash anything. Hideki Matsuyama, who I had last week as they go to the Wyndham Championships here at Sedgefield in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is a course where putting and chipping, short game is going to greatly benefit you. It's not long Bombers course. So guys who play well around the greens are going to be the ones you want here. I'm going to be back in Hideki Matsuyama again. He's around 18-1 or so. Playing, sneaky good, not great, not scoring like he sometimes can. So maybe waiting for a little bit of a breakout here, but I don't see why he can't get it here. I also like Aaron Rye at about 36-1 and Denny McCarthy around anywhere between 27 and 30. You can probably find McCarthy. A couple of longer shots. Carson Young's been playing pretty good golf. He's probably around 201 at your book, so shop around on him. I think he's definitely a top 20 and then maybe a top 10 play. Adam Schenk playing good golf. He's around 70-1. I think he's worth a shot. Adam Hadwin's had a pretty good summer as well. He sits at 37-1, 37-40-1 range. I think he could be a good top 10 play. And then Adam Scott, the Aussie. I'm not sure Adam Scott's got what it takes to win tournaments anymore, but he can always put together a good performance and get a top 10. So I think Scotty for a top 10 or top 20 makes a lot of sense this weekend. So not a great golf card as we get towards the FedEx playoffs. And, those things really aren't all that exciting. The Live boys, I believe, are going to be at the Greenbrier. We're just starting to get that legalized here in West Virginia. I've been fighting for that for months, so we'll start talking about that more once we get it legalized here in West Virginia. I don't think Ohio even has it yet either, but talking with the regulators, I think I got them talked into doing it, so we're hopeful that we'll add it to the whole state probably this week or the next tournament they have, so keep your eye out for that. I got some opinions there. The fields are way better in the Live Golf, even though they're smaller. The players are better top to bottom, so anyway, that concludes golf. Let's shift over quickly to Big 3 basketball. Big 3 basketball in week number 7 right now. They play 8 weeks of regular season. It's actually 7, and then they cut down. They play 6 weeks, then they cut down. They cut a couple teams last week, the Three-Headed Monsters, and there's one other one that's out too. Maybe the Aliens. I think they're eliminated. Yeah, the Aliens are, because that was a team that I backed a lot. Buried at the bottom, so they're out of contention. So you got 5 games this week, and then the top 8 advance to next week, and then you will have the top 8 then playing down to the playoffs, the Final Four, which I don't think the whole Final Four is in London, but the finals, I think, are in the All-Star game. So lots of good still ahead in the Big 3. You got the Ball Hogs and the Triplets, both these teams at 4-2. You got an absolute log jam of 4-2 teams. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams at 4-2. So this is really, really big for these teams now. There's not a lot of margin for error here. You got to get in the top 8, so you can't lose, because at least half of the teams are playing each other, so they're all going to win. So you got to really be on your game this week. I think these games will be very competitive and be very good. So Ball Hogs and Triplets, these games are on Saturday, I believe on CBS, probably around 1 o'clock, right before golf usually. Ball Hogs and Triplets, I like this game over to 92.5. The Triplets are minus 2.5, but I do like a strong play on the over there. Both these teams can score, probably the 2 best scoring teams in the league, so we'll be taking it over there. I know people would think, well, this game matters a lot. They'll play a lot of defense. I don't think either it's in these teams' best interest to try to play more defense. It's just their best interest to try to continue to score. So do what they do best. Let's hope for some points there. Trilogy and the Ghost Ballers. I'm going to take the Ghost Ballers here. They're a 2.5-point dog. I think this game plays right down to the wire. Trilogy look a little bit old to me. They've won the title before, twice, I believe, back-to-back. And they look a little old to me, so I'm going to take a shot against them. And I'll go with the Ghost Ballers, who've played pretty strong all season. The Power also been pretty strong. They're 2.5-point favorites against the Killer Threes, the total 92 there. I'm going to take the Killer Threes in the 2.5. Again, a game of 4-2 teams matching up. I think this goes right down to the wire, and I'll take the basket in case it's a 2-point game. But I wouldn't dissuade anybody from taking the Killer Threes on the money line. Threes Company takes on the Enemies. The Enemies minus 3.5, 92.5. If you've been listening, you know I play the Enemies quite a lot. I like Nick Young. I think they're pretty good. I think they could be dangerous in the playoffs, but they got to win this game, and I think they will. So I'll take them minus the 3, total 92.5. I don't have a play on that. Then you got Bivic and Tri-State in the final game. Tri-State minus 3.5. Sorry. These two teams both 2-4. And I don't believe that they could. I guess they technically maybe could still be alive. So if you have 1 loser, 2 loser, 3 loser, 4 loser, 5. Yeah, maybe one of those teams, if the winner of this game maybe can get in off tiebreakers, which is point differential for that 8th spot. But it's pretty tough 2-4 when you got all those teams logged into 4-2. So I'm going to be sitting that game out. I would tend to lean towards the under there because that's going to be one where they absolutely need to win no matter what. If they lose, they're absolutely finished. So it's going to be tightly played, and I think that both teams will try to focus in on defense a little bit more because their offense isn't that good anyway. So maybe a lean towards the under of the 92.5 in the Bivik and Tri-State game. But I like this big 3. I know a lot of people haven't really got into it yet, but it's growing, and Ice Cube's doing an awesome job with it, and I hope he continues to grow it, and it gets more and more airtime because it's fun to bet. It's basketball the way it should be played. It reminds me of like what a shirt I have on here with John Starks and Patrick Ewing at NBA Jam. Back when basketball was a team sport, unselfish players, and everybody just knew their role and played it really, really extremely well. So anyway, hope you enjoy Big 3 basketball as much as I have over the past few weeks as we go into the playoff stretch. All right, let's jump over to my very favorite sport, the AFL. So the AFL had a lot of weird stuff happen last week as all 3 top teams lost, which is very strange. Collingwood coming off that huge win over Port Adelaide the week before. They lay a complete egg against Carlton, lose the game 93-76, absolutely slaughtered. Brisbane gets massacred by Gold Coast, who's a team that I was very high on, but they could never stay consistent throughout the season. We gave Gold Coast out to make the finals at the beginning of the season. I don't know, they were 8 or 10-1, but I don't think they can do it. But this is a win I was not expecting as they take out Brisbane by they won by over 30 points, so 96-55. And then Port Adelaide gets smoked by their rivals, the Adelaide Crows, 112-65. They've now lost 3 in a row. So right after I give them out as my top selection and my favorite to win the finals, they've played absolutely terrible. The Collingwood game was a great game. They looked a little rusty, and they came off their bye, and they had guys suspended, and they got guys hurt, and I don't know. I'm worried now about Port Adelaide getting it back before the season ends. So that's a concern. Brisbane really surprised me. The fact they only scored 55, they've proven to be probably the best offensive team other than Melbourne Demons in the entire league. So, and for them to only score 55, that's a that's a total outlier, total anomaly. So I expect them to start to get back going again. They were a team that I was starting to consider maybe backing in the playoffs, but I don't think they can win on the road. I'm still worried about that. Collingwood, very well-rounded team. Terrible performance last week. They'll probably get back on track. They remain the favorites at around plus 175 to win the league, followed by Melbourne at 4-1, who's now past Brisbane and Port. Brisbane and Port both 6-1 right now. Man, I don't know where to go right here. I don't know if I stick with Port or lean Brisbane. Melbourne may be the team that's peaking at the right time. Their two-way game is pretty strong. They can play offense and defense. So, you got to look out for teams like that. Teams that can get stops and stop breaks are going to be the ones that do well, and the guys that can win in the ruck circle at the beginning of each possession. That can't be overstated about how important that is to get control off of the bounce. All right, let's go Friday. This is a 5:50 a.m. Friday morning, so you probably missed this one, but we'll be playing Western, and we're going to go under. So Western on the road, or actually at home against Richmond, minus 8.5, the total 168.5. I'll be taking the Bulldogs. They have lost 3 of 4, but they've lost all really close games by less than one score, and they've been against good teams. So both these teams need it. Right now, Western sits 8th. Richmond sits 11th. Richmond lost last week. I think Richmond's about finished, and I think this will be the end of them. Put the nail in the coffin. Hopefully you see this on Twitter, and hopefully we have 2 winners by the time you listen to this show. All right, Saturday. This is 11:45 p.m. Friday night, Saturday, however you want to look at it. It's really Friday night our time. The Essendon Bombers and the West Coast Eagles. This is a home game for Essendon. Essendon sits 13th right now. They're coming off a loss. They had some momentum, but they haven't been playing very well. It's been stymied. They're 9-10. They absolutely need this game to have any chance West Coast upset North Melbourne last week. It's not much of an upset. They're both the two worst teams in existence, but they won the game. So I think a letdown is very possible here. They got the win they were looking for to avoid being a 2-win or a 1-win team. So I think the Eagles get absolutely slaughtered here. I would consider this to be probably a 10-star pick on Essendon minus the 50.5, and probably a very strong play on the over of 176.5 on Friday evening at 11:45. 12:10 a.m. on Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever you want to call it. The Adelaide Crows and the Gold Coast Suns do battle. Crows coming off a great win against Port Adelaide. The Suns, we talked about, hammered Brisbane. I don't want to pick a side here. I don't know what to go with here. Adelaide minus 18.5 at home against the Suns. But if the Suns could keep the momentum, I think they could cover this. But I'm going to be leaning the under here, 174.5. We're going to go under with the Crows and the Suns on Saturday, early morning, late night Friday. All right, 2:35 a.m. Eastern Time. This is on Saturday morning or Friday night after you get dropped off from your IC cab ride. Collingwood is at Hawthorn. Collingwood lost to Carlton last week. As we said, they're the top team in the league. They really don't need to win these matches. They're pretty much locked in at the top spot. They're minus 31.5 here on the road. Total 166.5. I'll play the Pies. I think they bounce back. Probably win this for fun. The Hawks are just not very good. And we'll be going under 166.5. I think their skipper is probably pretty pissed off about that performance last week, and I think that they will be very dialed in. All right, 5:25 a.m. Saturday morning. The Geelong Cats and the Port Adelaide Power. This is at Geelong. Geelong and Port both coming off losses. Geelong needs this game more than Port does, badly. Geelong with a terrible loss last week again, just a listless performance. They're starting to remind me of the Yankees. Well, they actually have talent, but the Yankees don't. But Geelong really needs this game. If they want to get in, they're ninth right now. They got to get up to that 8th spot. I can't pick it. I'll probably lean Geelong. They're minus 10.5, but man, I don't like to give Port 10.5 anytime. 164.5 is the total. I'll be playing it under and lean towards the Cats, but under 164.5 is my play. Saturday morning, 5:30 a.m. It's GWS Greater Western Sydney Giants hosting the Sydney Swans. This is a rivalry game. There'll be some bad blood here. You got the Giants, it's sitting 6th right now. They're in a pretty good spot. They've been red hot. They've won 7 in a row. They've locked themselves into a finals appearance here. Swans need it. They're 10th. They beat Essendon last week by 2 in a really, really good game. I think they maybe have a little bit of a letdown here. I'll be playing GWS at home. I think they keep it rolling. They're very good. Been very impressed with them. And I like over 155.5. So that's GWS, the Giants, minus 3.5 at home, and over 155.5 against the Swans in the Battle of Sydney. All right, let's flip over to the back page here. Sunday morning, actually it'll be 11:10 our time. Sunday over there, 11:10. Saturday night, it is the North Melbourne Kangas hosting the Melbourne Demons. Another big-time showdown, a rivalry game, but unfortunately one side is not going to be able to compete in this game. North Melbourne off a terrible loss to West Coast. The Melbourne Demons cranking on all cylinders right now. They've won 4 in a row. I just don't think they have any threat here from the Kangas. So we'll be playing the Demons, minus 42.5 on the road, and 172.5 is the total, and I like the over here. I think there's a bunch of points. They're playing this in an area where you'll have fans from both teams, so over is the play, and the Demons minus the points. Sunday, 1:20 a.m. on Sunday, late night Saturday, if you may. This is the St. Kilda Saints and the Carlton Blues. The Blues off a big win over the top team last week, but they've been playing really well. They've won 6 in a row. Do they keep it going here? I don't have a play on this. St. Kilda, I can't figure them out. They're just not very talented, but they continue to get results. Their schedules favor them. They're locked into 5th right now. They probably are making the finals. So I think no matter what, I picked them a couple weeks ago to stumble, but they haven't. And I don't really like a side in this game. So in a game that both teams really would love to win, I'm sure they would both take a draw, to be honest, which are very rare. I'm going to go under 164.5. Carlton is laying 14.5 on the road, which is a little too much probably. So I maybe lean St. Kilda. Maybe the Saints get a cover. But I like the under 164.5. I think that's a very tightly contested game. Both those teams will be hoping to just get in there, get out without anybody getting hurt, and just move on because they're both in a pretty good spot. All right, the final game of the weekend, 2:40 a.m. on Sunday morning. Fremantle at Brisbane, or hosting Brisbane. Sorry, Fremantle hosts Brisbane. The Lions right now 14.5-point road favorite, the total 167.5. I think the Lions bounce back here. I don't love playing them on the road. I would probably lean Fremantle on the spread side. But pair things up. You can do these parlays in AFL where you can play the money line with the team and you can play the total. So I'd recommend a Brisbane money line play with the over 167.5, and you get a nice plus price on that. And, hopefully you can get a good score. So we'll be going with the Lions, who look to bounce back. They're pretty comfortably in the playoffs, obviously, being in the third position. But sure, they want to get the momentum going because you don't want to be playing your worst football this time of the year. So check out the Lions, and maybe they get back in the win column, and they put up some points on the way. All right, a couple of things industry-wide before we take a break and get to Sam and racing talk. The TBT finishes up tonight or 2 nights ago. If you're listening, heard that. And Heartfire, both of these games are 2.5 spreads. Heartfire minus 2.5, 141.5 in one semi. And then the Friday Beers versus Bleed Green, who's minus 2.5, 141.5. Hopefully the herd in the green meet in the finals. That'd be pretty cool. Be an all green final in Philadelphia. Hopefully you've enjoyed the TBT. Best Virginia didn't have their best over here at West Bank Arena. They were ousted by Herd That, who then ended up going on an incredible run on Sunday and beating Boeheim's Army, who came down to make the trip down on to play on Sunday. So a great performance by Herd That as they keep it going right now. Schneid Dog, who probably we should have on the show, one of the best local handicappers around town. He had a heavy steam play on Marshall on Sunday. So congrats to him, and I'm sure he's on the herd again tonight. If you haven't seen the news about Iowa State's football program, it's very interesting. They have some players, most notably one of their quarterbacks, who's now being criminally investigated for wagering underage. He was using false accounts, and he was betting on a lot of Iowa State sports, and some of them were football games. So there's some other guys involved in this too. The specifics are still coming out. I'm still trying to gather some information, so I'm not going to speculate on this, but I will give a quick story for those of you who are aware of the Pine Room. We get together pretty much every Saturday and watch college football during the fall and winter. And I remember vividly several of our guys a couple years ago when Brock Purdy, who plays for the 49ers, was playing, and it honestly, it appeared like Iowa State was trying to either cover spreads or not cover spreads. It was bizarre. Each week there was some strange outcome of their game. Coaches throwing on 4th down and bizarre things when the game's already been settled. And we remarked, a lot of us, about either we had the side they were against or them or vice versa, whatever it was. Some of us were on some on the other. And we remarked as a group how odd the behavior was, and that if we didn't know any better, it looked like they were trying to cover spreads or fixing spreads to where they needed it to fall or whatever. And then this comes out. Probably not related, most likely, but Matt Campbell was the brunt of a lot of our frustration at the Pine Room. And talking to my fellow Pine Room guys this morning, several of them remembered that, Coach Nick among others. But yeah, we were pretty heated about Iowa State. Very, very, very irritated with the way that they finished games. There was some very strange shenanigans going on with Iowa State's program, and now you see that the quarterback and some linemen and some other people were involved in betting on their games, and that makes you think about it again. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we were just acting like idiots when we drink, but when you watch enough of these games, you start to detect weird things, and sometimes you're right. So anyway, let's hope that's not a huge scandal and that Iowa State gets it sorted out and it's an isolated thing, and that is all, and they can move on. Women's World Cup, I want to go back to this. I mentioned we were talked about it in depth earlier, but the markets that I talked about last week about trying to find things that match up similarly to the money line so you don't have to play these giant prices. Well, I had another example of this the other day, actually this morning in real time. It'll be a couple days ago for you, but trying to look for value when you don't want to lay these giant prices. Like, so for instance, this morning, France was a huge favorite against Panama, like minus 10,000. You're not going to bet that. It's insane. Don't even want to put it on a parlay. It does. It may raise it up a nickel, but you don't want to play those, so don't play them. If you like France a lot and you're like, oh, well, I like France. I thought France would win. I knew France would win, but I didn't want to lay 3.5 goals to get minus 190 still, and them have to win by 4. I thought, they'll be fine with winning by 2 or 3, and they're not going to keep trying to score. So I thought that was a crazy bet. The money line is obviously an insane bet, But if you play things like the corner kicks, so if you expect France to dominate a game like that, where they're heavily favored, they're going to control the ball, they're going to be putting pressure on Panama's box the entire match. So there's going to be ample chances for corner kicks. Look for these because, again, they're priced to a point where they're affordable for you and you can still get the same outcome. So if you really thought France was going to just massacre Panama and you didn't want to have to lay 3.5 goals and you're like, well, I'm a little bit concerned. I think they'll win easily, but they might only win by 3, so I don't want to lay that. And even if they win by 4, I'm laying 190, so I don't want to do that either. So look at the corners. So the corner kicks, I found this last night before I went to bed. I bet this corner kicks. So 9 corner kicks, over under 9 corner kicks total for the game. That's Panama and France. Panama had surrendered like double figures in their first 2 matches, so that's a key indicator. And France is the best team they've played so far. So without question, I'm going to say minus 120 over 9 corner kicks. That to me correlates to France winning the match, and it did. And you also have other factors in there too. You have markets such as corner kicks minus the spread, basically. So France is laying 6. They have to out-corner Panama by 6 corner kicks. Well, if you're thinking they're going to dominate the match, chances are the better team usually has predominant amount of corner kicks. The other team is lucky to get 1 or 2. Well, France out-cornered, or again, let me go back to that. France minus 6 corners, so they got to win by 6 would be a push. So if they had France had 7 and Panama had 1, then it would be a push. If France had 8 and Panama had 1, then France wins. They cover the 6. Corner kicks, France minus 6, minus 110. There you go. That's back to betting a straight-up game. I mean, that's minus 110 juice. I mean, you can't beat that. So I played both of those. Both were winners. France won the game 6-3. They didn't cover the 3.5, which was still a minus 190, so you didn't want to lay that. You would have lost. So the corner kicks, find the value in these other markets that correlate with the better team, and you're going to find a lot more value that way. You could do this in other sports too. If the money line is too much for you, look for other areas where you think that team has an advantage. Corners is an obvious one, and for those to be priced so fairly, I think is great. So they out, and then we get back to the point. France wins the game 6-3, and they out corner Panama 11-0. So easy covers there, easy winners, goes over the 9 by 2, and France goes 11-0 to cover the 6. So much smarter way to bet. So I urge you, if you have questions, again, call the radio show, 304-214-1600, or email us, contact at the Pine Room Studio, or no, at the Pine Room Podcast, that is. Contact at thepineroompodcast.com. You can also message us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do, at the Pine Room Studios. Message us, ask about this. Say, Matt, teach me more about that. Whatever you want to do. I'll be happy to talk through with anybody, try to help them find winners, ways to beat their book. All right, cross-sport parlays. Again, I mentioned these last week, tying him into Messi things because he's going to be doing a lot of damage here. A WNBA with the Aces and the Liberty. Max Verstappen in the win column again. So there's one free leg he already just had right there. And now adding to it, next week, Premier League soccer starts. Manchester City. They're going to be one of the teams you're going to want to put in these things because they're going to probably win the league again. They're going to have a really good chance, and they're going to win a lot of matches. So track them well. Look for them. They're not going to be a team you're going to want to bet straight on a money line. Again, like I just went over, you're going to want to find hidden markets in the game where they can dominate in an area where they're not outpriced. But you can also use them in cross-sport parlays. Find ways to utilize them. They're exceptional. They added more talent to their team this year. So we'll talk more about that as soccer begins next week, and that's very exciting as the Premier League, the championship, England Championship starts up this week, and the Premier League next week. So lots of good things still to come. We're going to talk about more of them here on Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to take a break and come back with Sam. Going to talk racing. We're going to recap the F1 race in Belgium. They're off for a few weeks, as I mentioned earlier. Indy Car is back in action at Nashville, and the NASCAR boys are up at Michigan. So plenty more to come here on Bettor's Last Stand. We'll also get Sam's opinions on trade deadlines. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand. Matt here with you. Now joined by the man from Upper St. Clair, Sam, in action again, back with us. No Jubb today, but that's all right. He sends his love, and hopefully he'll be back soon. How you doing today, Sammy?
Matt, things are well. The trade deadline is over. The dust is settled. And
yeah,
we're right. The Pirates are right where they should be.
Isn't it amazing though? Like every year, Pirate fans get interested in this and how it's going to turn out, and it's always just like underwhelming. Either the other team just basically, for lack of a better term, just savagely ravages the Pirates, or you think they get a fair return, but it's something you're never going to see. Now, I've heard conflicting opinions about the Santana. I was certainly hoping for something that was more of a guy that could contribute sooner, but we had a guy on our radio show yesterday, Cody Duncan, who does for Rum Bunter and for Fansided and things, and he said this prospect they got back is really, really good, so he expects him to come quicker than most 18-year-olds, but then again, the Pirates, you're always waiting. So what were your thoughts about that, and then the trades yesterday? I mean, the Rich Hill and that kind of makes sense. And you knew G-Man would go because, I mean, people were always looking for a left-handed bat. So what'd you think about it overall?
Yeah, on my way home from work today, I actually heard on Double M's show somebody said that the Pirates are playing chess without a rook and without a queen. It's like They don't have a power hitter and they don't have a first baseman. And I get it. I get it. The deal was there for the prospects, but we actually do not have a first base.
No, they don't. And the guy they got back the other day, he's a bum. He's a bum. He's just a place filler to just fill in. Because when we were on the show yesterday, and I had asked Cody who's going to play first base, and sure enough, the trade's happening right when we're talking, and he said, "Well, looks like this guy's going to now." Like, okay, this guy's a bum. He's not going to be in any long-term plans. I mean, he's just a journeyman. But yeah. You're right. I don't know. I just think this team is just every single thing they do is like with fraudulent intent. They suck people in, and they get the draft, they make the right pick finally, and then this, and it's like they don't even seem. I don't know. They don't seem any better for next year at all, other than Skeens. Like, I don't know where they've improved the team. I mean, Brian Hayes is just horrendous. He's so bad. This team's got a lot of problems, but. I don't know. Where do you stand? Do you have any optimism going into next year?
No, none. This year, they're my team. They're who I'm cheering for. That's not. I'm sticking with that. But man, I have no hope. How can you get somebody here?
Yeah. No, I don't. I just.
You either have to overpay or.
Yeah. I mean, you really can't. It's really hard to really put it into words because it's the same old stuff. Like their team, like if you look at their lineup now, it's embarrassing. It's just not that good, and they're good players. The guys who are supposed to be good aren't. Jarrett gave us some stat, or no, it might have been Jubb on the show yesterday about Andrew McCutchen didn't drive in one run the entire month of July. Like it's just. I mean, this team. It's a marvel.
I did not know that.
How they can continue. I didn't either. And Jarrett didn't know it either. And if he didn't know it and you didn't know it, then that's saying something. But yeah, it's just not. It's not good. I mean, you can try to get excited, but I see there's too many guys that they think are good or that the organization has set in their future plans that just aren't good enough, and they're not going to upgrade because they're not going to spend any money. So I just don't know how much better they're going to be. And you have the Reds who are going to be very good next year. You have the Cubs who are getting better, who ended up not selling and are in to try to make the playoffs this year, and they're only going to add more. And then you got the Cardinals who won't be bad like this ever again. And then Milwaukee will be steady with their pitching. So, I mean, it's as excited as you might want to say as a Pirate fan. You got your division, which is not good this year, is going to turn into being pretty good pretty fast.
Yeah. And I feel like every time I'm looking at these lineups now, we have 8 or 9 like infielders, but we only have 3 positions that we can play them. It's like this Alika Williams, Gonzalez, Castro's gone, but it's just like, oh.
Yeah, that might be a good thing. But yeah, then you got catchers playing outfield and just, yeah. I don't know. I think that the team is just. I think they just walk around without a plan daily, and they just try to whatever they try to do is always based on like fan feedback and backlash, and And then again, though, if they really cared that much, they'd spend some money so the fans could be happy. But you always hear the reporters saying, like, oh, the Pirates will take a beating in the press for this. It's like, what have you not beat on them about? They deserve everything they get, so quit worrying about what the fans say. You're lucky you have any fans. Why don't you treat them to something good one time and go out and sign Ohtani this offseason? But
yes, and it's funny you said that, Matt. They were saying on the radio on my way home that one of the reasons that Bednar and Keller are still here is because the Pirates didn't want to deal with the PR disaster that would come with that.
Yeah, so that makes me think, like, wow, they might have got really interesting offers for those guys, but no, they weren't going to trade them, even if it made the team better. Like, it wouldn't. Like, would it really upset? And I will tell you this, and you know this probably better than anybody. Pittsburgh fans have a problem with they're so loyal, it's to a fault. It's like the Penguins. It's like they would rather keep a guy who's 50 years old who they liked, that won cups for them 20 years ago, than they would trade him for like a really good up-and-coming guy. They don't ever want to part with the guys that they love because they don't realize it's a business, I guess. But that's the same thing the Pirates run into. So if you could have improved your ball club by dealing either one of those guys, why would you not have done it?
I know. And it's just like they say, oh, they're probably lowball offers. Like, I don't know, man. I'm sure people were willing to give up a lot for a closer in a
hell yeah, pitcher. They would be. The Rangers were hell bent on getting Bednar, and then they had to, adjust their plan, and they actually get a team in their own division ends up trading them. They probably got more. The Mariners probably got more out of that than they would have if they wouldn't have been in their division. But I don't know. I think the Pirates probably would have been better trading Mitch Keller back in June when they realized he had caught fire and they could have fooled some people. But
got no worth now.
Right, and it's amazing how these teams waited, because you kept hearing like, all right, the Cubs are going to be sellers. The Yankees are in on Bellinger. The Yankees are in on this guy, or so-and-so's in on a few of the Padre guys. Well, guess what? The Cubs sweep over the weekend. The Padres sweep over the weekend, and neither one of them decided to sell. So good for them. I think they both made the right decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, G-Man, he was solid. He was a great first baseman. For a Pittsburgh Pirates organization, he was perfect.
Very serviceable player.
Perfect. Now they're going to get a good left-handed batter. Rich Hill's Rich Hill.
Yeah.
He'll play. He's like Jamie Moyer. He'll play till he's 50.
Right. And the Padres needed a left-handed bat because they actually are very good against left-handed pitching and not so good against right-handed pitching. So I think it's a really good move for them. I think the Cubs did right by sticking with it, and that they could end up getting some of their younger players some experience now in the playoffs if they can make a run. Milwaukee, Santana I think helps them a lot. I don't think Mark Canha helps them at all, but now the Central's interesting, and I think the Reds kind of left something out on the table. I feel like they probably should have made a move and they didn't. What do you think?
Yeah, the Reds, they were definitely silent, but they're good, man.
No, they are. And this isn't their year. Good. They're a year ahead. So no one expected them. Everybody picked them to finish last almost in the division.
Hey, we were a year ahead in April.
yeah, light years ahead, and then now light years behind again. It's amazing how that works. Let's jump over to the American League before we start talking racing. Orioles it's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping they would get Verlander, but Flair. I was hoping they would get both of those guys. And if they did, I think then they become like a serious. Not that they're not now, but I think they honestly are close to being the favorite in the American League if they'd have got Verlander and Flaherty. But Flaherty helps them. He's definitely the best starter they have. But I'd like to see him get back to his form from about 3 years ago. But I don't know. I give him credit for trying. What do you think of that move and any of the other ones in the American League East?
Yeah, I love that move. I love what the Orioles are doing. Man, they're good.
They are.
They're good, and I like seeing them. Like the Rays, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Yankees. That division is tough, but the Orioles have just once they caught fire, man, they've just been slow. It hasn't been this, crazy thing. It's just been consistent.
Right, and they're winning these playoff level series right now. They go down to Tampa and take 3 or 4. They've beat the Blue Jays 2 in a row now. On the road, so they're winning like big series and looking like a veteran type team. And I tell you, you were on to Adley Rutschman way early, probably before most people ever heard of him. But him and Gunnar Henderson are going to be MVP candidates very quickly. This team they got a couple really special dudes, and I'm not just saying that because I like the team, but like those guys, they are fun to watch play baseball, and they're only going to get better in a short term.
Yeah, I mean, they have the number one prospect, Jackson Holiday, right now. Matt Holiday's son, the shortstop. It's like that's.
Yeah, and wait till they get him up there, because Mateo can't hit it all, and if this Holiday kid can hit, I mean, then their infield is just absolutely loaded. I don't know. It's a great problem to have, but they've got to add some more arms. I don't think they're going to be good enough to win it this year, but that's okay. But they got to. They're probably missing out. If they would have got Verlander, I would say they had a really good chance to win it, because you can't count on New York being bad forever. I mean, maybe you can, because they have been bad so far. But how about them yesterday? Don't even do anything, and then they go out and their team looks like they just gave up last night. They didn't even show up for the game. I'm curious to see what they'll do tonight with Garrett Cole pitching, but I think the Yankees are done. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, a last place Yankees, that's tough. 11 back in that division, that's a long way.
Right. And they didn't even show up last night. It looked like the team had given up. When they didn't make any moves yesterday, I think that was like, all right, we're done. They don't believe in us. We're finished. Thought Boston would make a few moves, but I think once Ohtani went off the market, I think they just decided we're going to go all in for him in the offseason. And I think their team's good enough to make the playoffs, but they probably don't have the pitching to make a deep run. Toronto, they added a few things, so maybe they get hot. I think their lineup's really good. I don't trust their pitchers, though, in big games. That will be their downfall. So I think the Orioles are the team to beat. I'm not a Rays guy. I think they're leaking oil bad. I know they're beating the Yankees, but that doesn't say much. Anybody else in the American League? What do you think of the Astros and Rangers both adding the teammates from the Mets?
I know. So AL East, I'm with you. Orioles all the way. The AL Central, I'd rather just eat a brick. That's just terrible. But Matt, so here we go. I teased this when we were talking before the show. I've made an allegiance.
Oh.
Okay. It's
big
an AL
here.
West allegiance.
Big moment here on Bettor's Last Stand.
Did this have to do with the store having a proper hat size for me? Maybe it did. So the Texas Rangers, are they my team? They are not. They did not have my size. Matt, this is a big shout-out to my favorite owner in sports. The guy said to sell the team 3 months ago.
The Angels.
Artie.
All right. Artie's the man. He looked good.
Ryan, in the last year he has Ohtani, he waited 6 fucking years to add players.
Right.
I love it. I love everything about it. He's trying everything in his power to keep this guy here in his last year. They're 6 back. Let's go, Angels.
All right. I like it. I think if they get Trout and they could just tread water till they get him, then I think they're dangerous. And I know no one's going to want to play them in a series. So I think they're a team a lot like San Diego in the National League. If they get in, I think they're very dangerous. So now it's a point, can they hang in? Can they hang within shouting distance? I think they probably can. The only thing that works against them, though, is that the damn AL East is so good. But if the Yankees and Rays fall off and the Red Sox may be right on the cusp, then maybe they have a chance of sneaking in there. Seattle, I thought that was interesting what they did. They didn't completely dismantle the team, but they didn't really add either. So I think they're kind of like hitting the reset to like wait for next year a little bit. But so I think they're out of it. But I think the Astros and Rangers will be solidly in the playoffs. I think the Orioles will be solidly in the playoffs. And then after that, you got either Cleveland or Minnesota. So that'll take you to 4, and then you got to fight it out. Can you take one of those berths from the East? That's the question. I don't see why not, because I don't think that the Yankees and Rays are playing well enough right now to be able to hang on for sure. So if the Angels can find a fire again and get Trout back, and Ohtani's great enough that he could carry them. So right. I like the pick.
They're my allegiance. I just need him to make the playoffs. Anything to keep Ohtani, I guess, there, because he's not going to come to the East Coast, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, other than I think Boston has a chance at him just because they've had a lot of Japanese players, and they got Yoshida now, so they're buddies, maybe. And I think Boston hasn't made a big move in a while, and they're probably scared to do it because they've messed up so many times. But they would be the only team. I don't think he goes to the Yankees. I don't think he would want to. I don't think he would want to go to the Mets. Basically, you just saw what the Mets do. Buy all those guys. It doesn't matter. Yankees similar, but just less talented version. But yeah, I agree. I would say the front runners, in my opinion, would be stays at the Angels, goes to Seattle, the Dodgers, unfortunately, and then Boston. Those would be the 4 teams that I would see. But who knows? Maybe the Pirates will make a move. Yeah, we can only hope, right? Could trade the whole infield and the whole outfield for him.
Probably, honestly.
Have him and Skeens. They can take turns playing out. Skeens can hit too, so maybe they have two guys that can pitch and hit.
We'll just bring Hedges back to catch. We won't hit him.
Right. Actually, they could. Yeah, they might have to fill the rotation out with Jubb and a couple other guys because.
Well, they have all that extra international bonus.
Right. Right. Well, Hedges, he demands a hefty price for the international bonus money. Wow, right. What an acquisition that was. So anyway, all right, let's jump over to racing, the true American pastime. Yes. Forget about baseball for a minute. But anyway, so some things never change. So Max Verstappen back in the win column as usual. Pretty dominant performance. He didn't start up front, but he sure got there pretty quickly and overtook his teammate Checo, and they run 1-2. So Red Bull back in the double podium finish again in Belgium. Observations, you had a great call, Esteban Ocon, to finish in the top 10 at like plus 160, so thank you for that one. I actually had probably my best weekend of Formula One racing in several weeks. Between your picks, and I had the double Mercedes top 6, and I had double Red Bull podium, so it was a pretty good week, and then Esteban Ocon to cap it off, so thank you for that. Observations about Belgium.
Yeah, it was just the typical... it doesn't matter where you put Max. He's going to be in first. I thought it was a good race.
Yeah, not bad.
Alpine definitely was way better than they have been. They needed a big weekend before they, they're on fire right now, as in like internally. They're just a disaster.
Yes.
Max has 8 wins in a row. I think I wrote this down because I was watching on TV. On lap 30, Matt, they did a solo shot of Max Verstappen driving, and there wasn't a car anywhere near him. It was just like they were showing us what the track was for the weekend.
Yeah, like he was just out taking a cruise. Yeah.
So it was good. I don't know if Piastri, that was just the disaster, turn 1.
Yeah.
He did that to himself. Not the weekend that McLaren needed. That's for sure.
Yeah, just when they were gaining the momentum, and with the Aston Martin guys, like you mentioned last week, coming back to earth a little bit, they bounced back a little bit. Solid finishes, probably not quite as good as they hoped, but Lance Stroll is just pegged into that 9 or 10 spot. I'd love to see. So if that car can get 9th or 10th every week with him in it, what do you think it does if they put a little bit better? Or actually, most drivers are going to be a lot better than him. He may be one of the worst drivers on the whole circuit.
Yeah, maybe put Mick in there. Put somebody else in there other than your son.
Yes. No, I agree. I think it's a big mistake, and I think they need to part ways with him. I think he's holding the team back because you see how important that teamwork is. If you run closer to your teammate, it seems to lead to much more success than having your teammate gap you by 5 or more places every single week.
Yeah, or even if you're Aston Martin, do something crazy. Just say, hey, Alex Palou, you come race for us.
Try it. That'd be awesome.
Like, do something because Lance is not... You're right, Matt. There's a guarantee he's finishing between, I say, 12th and like 9th.
Like he's all of his point finishes are always either 1 or 2 points. Like that's it. Like he's not. I don't know. He's not good enough. He's not good enough to pass people. And this was a track that you can actually make some passes on. So it was a little bit better race than most weeks because you had some action out there. So now it's summer break time. These guys get to get their body clocks settled down instead of traveling from like 20 different time zones and. That's got to be tough. So, what do you see anybody making any strides out of the summer break when they come back to the Netherlands?
I hope Ferrari makes some strides because I have here Ferrari has 3 top 10s this year.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Or not 3 top 10s. I mean 3 podiums.
Podiums. Yeah, they finally got another one this week.
It's like when I texted you the picture that I voted for Carlos Sainz for driver of the day. It's just like, what is he the worst driver ever, Matt? Or
he's just like football follies. Every week he's got something that he does wrong or crazy, stupid, and then when he doesn't, when he's actually focused, then the car will have a problem. Like that team. I don't like that team. I don't like their drivers. I don't know how good Charles Leclerc really is. He's okay, but I'd love to see these cars with some other guys. So I really would. I'd like to see Fernando Alonso jump in their cockpit, see what he could do, and a couple of these other guys. But I don't know. I think they need a major overhaul. Maybe not so much in their car, but in their driving or whatever kind of like vibes they have in the team camp. It just doesn't seem to be working right for Ferrari.
No, absolutely not. And McLaren needs to come back from the break and just be consistent the rest of the year.
Right.
Get top 5.
No
top
more
5,
DNFs. Yeah, they can't. They
no more.
can't be. They've got to knock that off because they finally got some momentum, and then Piastri gives it away after a great performance in the sprint race. So yeah,
he was awesome, man.
That's it's too bad. But anyway, we'll take a couple weeks break, and we'll be back. Imagine that Max gets to stay home and go probably win another one in dominating fashion as they go to the Dutch Grand Prix next. All right, sticking with open wheel, the Indy guys were off last week after the domination in Iowa of Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden now 6-1 to win the championship. Alex Palou still a minus $12 favorite. He's going to be tough to beat, but if Newgarden's the only guy that can really get to him. And now we head to Nashville. This has been an interesting track for these guys. Marcus Ericsson, could he make an appearance? Scott Dixon won the last time out. What do you see? Dixon's been really impressive here. He won, and then he was second, I think, the year before that, so he's going to be a serious contender. But does anybody outside of Palou or Newgarden win a race anytime soon, other than a few weeks ago when he had that massive upset? But what do you see shaking out here in Nashville? I don't mind this track. I think this is actually suits the Indy cars pretty well. It should make for a pretty good race.
Yeah, I agree. This one's a little tough because they've only raced here twice, sort of a new circuit. But three names I just can't get away from is Felix Rosenqvist, Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou.
Yep. Well,
those three names stick out to me like sore thumbs. Nothing with Dixon, Ericsson, Rosenqvist, McLaughlin, Alex Palou.
Well, I definitely had McLaughlin in there. I thought he was a definite win contender. I think he's picked up a little bit of momentum recently, so I'm expecting him to carry it over. But no, I agree with you. I think Palou's he's just so consistently good right now, and I think he's really just showing you, like you mentioned a minute ago about F1. Somebody might take a shot at him. Like he may get to the point where he's dominating this and he's looking for another challenge. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean he's having an unbelievable year. He really is sticking out. I mean it's close. If Newgarden can get one or two more victories or a better finish than Palou, then it's not over. But Palou has stood out very much so of the dominant IndyCar driver out of the field. And
wouldn't you say that with the way that he has dominated, I mean Newgarden is having a great season, and it's like he's pretty far behind him in the points, and it's like, man, most of the time that would be good enough to be the leader right now.
Yeah, I mean, you typically don't sweep a weekend and you're still not in first,
right?
So that shows how far the lead is for Palou. But a couple more good races for him, and it's definitely his no doubt. Let
me ask you about a couple guys, a couple of dark horse guys that I was considering maybe taking a shot at. Colton Herta 10-1, Marcus Ericsson 16-1. Both these guys have run well here at least in the two tries they had. And any thoughts on them? Can Marcus Ericsson get back into victory lane one time?
I would take Ericsson over Herta because every time I'm high on Colton Herta, I feel like you get a mid-race, they pan to his car and he's bitching at his dad or he's bitching at these engineers or something. It's like, man, Colton Herta just his name has not been up there like it has the last couple of years. So I would take Ericsson over Herta, which that means Herta's going to be top 5.
Right. And I thought it was interesting too because Ericsson's 16-1, Herta's only 10. Like I probably won't play Herta because of that price. I don't love it 10-1. Like I feel like he should be a higher price than Ericsson, to be honest. Ericsson just a better team and just more consistency, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, either one though. I feel like Ericsson was great. Beginning of the year was hot. Now he can't really get his name back up closer to that top 5. I was
thinking that maybe he tries to carry a little momentum into this because he's had some success here in the past. But, I don't know. What about guys like Rinus VeeKay or Will Power and any of these guys? Kirkwood. Can any of these guys contend? Kirkwood could be interesting maybe.
I know. And I look at them. I look at names names like Rossi and Rahal stick out to me because those guys always find a way to just squeeze in there. They did it on these previous races. I don't know. It's just tough. Like Lundgaard, was the victory? Was it a fluke? Was it just a dominant car? Was it him?
Right.
I don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any reason to think that any of the big guns don't win this race, barring a major meltdown. How about Pato O'Ward? Think he's got anything? He hasn't run well here, so I don't know if that's just a fluke or.
He hasn't, but like every week he's always getting these. He's always eliminated from the race, and he's getting the interview from like
right.
The person that when they're out of the infield.
Him and Stingray Robb, yeah,
car. Right. Yeah. Him, Stingray, and that lady. What's her name? Catherine Legay or whatever her name is.
Poor woman.
Yeah, but he's always getting interviewed because he's got a quick car. He crashes, so
yeah.
I don't know, man. That McLaren team is. That's why I'm going with Rosenqvist.
You're right, and you identified it with the F1 guys. Is the McLaren consistency is a problem across all their teams, in open wheel right now. So I don't know. I'm with you though. I think Pelot's going to be tough to beat, but do you like McLaughlin? I think Rosenqvist is a pretty good dark horse in there. So we shall see. All right, let's switch over to NASCAR. Let's get the stock car boys here. Another strange outcome race, but I will say. It was very evident to me probably about the end of stage 2, the beginning of the last stage, that the RFK boys had really good cars. That was evident. I didn't know if they would be able to win, and I actually had Keselowski, so I was pulling for him, and I actually doubled down on my bet on him in play to get a little bit more down, and then he had an issue on pit road, and he could never get the track position back. I think his car was good enough to win. It was probably almost identical to Buescher's.
I know. I can't believe I'm saying this from what I said the first time we met in person. I think he could get a win this year, Keselowski.
Yeah,
I said it. I really did say it, dude. They looked good.
I know. I think that momentum of that team, and Brad Keselowski's a guy who you remember him in his dominating times. Like when he gets momentum rolling, it's very similar to like a Kyle Busch or even a Denny Hamlin. Like when these guys get it rolling, or Eaton Truex would be another good example, is that they start to contend every single week. So I'm not saying he's there yet, but this is another track that sets up good for him here in Michigan, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned this momentum they have. It's like this Justin Haley deal, him going to Rick Ware Racing. So RFK is in alliance with Rick Ware Racing.
Right.
So if they can figure out these engines and get whatever they're doing on that side figured out and pass that along to them.
Yeah.
I turned on RFK.
No question about it. And then that's a really good point because, we were wondering why Haley was making that move, and maybe he's seeing the writing on the wall and he's saying, hey, this team is starting to catch fire. And if we're getting the same equipment as they are, this may be a chance for me to be better than where I'm at right now. So while I questioned the move, and I think you did too, after you just brought that up and mentioned it, it does make a little bit more sense now.
Yeah, it definitely makes more sense. And if Haley wants to be the number one driver at his price,
right,
then it's probably not going to be from Kaulig because Matt Kaulig is a businessman and he wants Haley at his price.
Sure. No doubt.
So,
yeah. So it probably made sense for him to make the move. But yeah, I think RFK is definitely a team that could be interesting as we push towards playoffs. So Buescher cashes at 60-1. And Keselowski ran great too. 4 races to go in the playoffs. It's getting down to where it's starting to be a little nervy for a few of these guys here as we look at the playoff standings right now. You got Michael McDowell, the last guy in right now. Ty Gibbs on the outside, A.J. Allmendinger, Daniel Suarez, and then 2 pretty big names, Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman at 20th and 21st. Right now, Kevin Harvick looks like he's probably safely pointed in. And then Brad Keselowski, who's been very solid recently and is likely to get in on points, but I'm sure he would prefer to get a victory and get in there. Who wins first, Harvick or Keselowski, or Chase Elliott, I guess, would be the 3. It's hard to imagine a NASCAR series now that Keselowski's team has been credible again, but those 3 guys, as good of drivers as they are, it's hard to believe none of them have a win this year.
I know, and I think out of the 3, I kind of want to go with Keselowski. I really do.
Yeah.
I really, really do.
Yeah.
Stuart Haas hasn't done too much for me this year, and Elliott's just been been bad
something's
year
off.
for him.
He definitely looks out of sync. Still has a good car, but yeah, something's just not right with him. Maybe he's just not settled back in after the injury and the suspension and all that stuff. I do find it interesting. Kevin Harvick has won 3 of the last 4 races here. He's very, very good at this track. He's about 8-1. I don't love that price with him, so I would lean towards Keselowski again this week too. As a guy who I keep betting, you're getting him about 25-1. I mean, I think it, and I don't think he's ever won at Michigan. If I'm mistaken, he might have, but he's run very well. He's just never won here, so that would be fitting. Do you think he could get it done, or will Harvick be too tough this week?
I don't know, because when I looked at the numbers, when you look at the previous winners, it really is. It's like Harvick. He's won here so many times, which is like such an off-putting thing when I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, there's just no way he's going to win this one.
Right. No, that's how I think too.
I just think it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I really do. I really think actually the toughest drivers are going to be Denny Hamlin and probably someone like Kyle Busch. I really do.
No, I can see that. I think Denny Hamlin,
Logano.
Yes,
he's getting there every week.
Yeah, no, he is, and he's due to make a big splash, and still getting him at 14-1 just seems like a really good price, and it's almost like I have to bet him just on principle, just knowing how good he is. But you can say the same about Denny Hamlin, but his price is just way too low for me. So I mean, Denny Hamlin right now has a lot of momentum. He's racing really well. You had William Byron last week. I feel like he's very dangerous here. I think him, Harvick, and Hamlin are the 3 like top guys that I would say, but I don't love any of their prices, so I probably won't bet them. Guys that I'm looking at under the radar, I thought, I'm anxious to get your opinion on this. So I was looking back in with Michigan in the new car, and guy who was leading laps, running well, has had really bad luck, though, in the last 2 races, but I thought kind of under the radar was Chris Bell. His finishes have been terrible, but his on-track running, his passes were good, his fastest laps were good, he's led laps. Like, he's doing good things in the car, and one time he qualified second, so I feel like he's on the cusp, and he had a horrible week last week, so I like him. I'm going to play him off the bounce a little bit, like 12-1. I think he's going to be a play. And then another guy I thought not quite as impressive, but maybe a little under the radar, was Ross Chastain. What do you say about those 2 guys?
Yeah, I actually have a note here that says Bell or Logano, because I was just going back and forth, because they've both had similar years, very similar.
Right.
I think Christopher Bell, Matt, I think that's a great pick, because he's had a good year. He's consistent. It's racing, man. He's had a bad little string of luck.
I feel like with him, and he's still very young, I feel like when he has an issue, it becomes a big issue. Like he's not able to overcome those yet. And once he learns how to do that, I mean, he could be maybe the best racer out there. I just feel like when he has a mistake, it's usually a catastrophic one. But if he just keeps the car on the track without any blunders, yeah, his consistency is fantastic. A couple other guys I thought were worth a look. Ryan Blaney is a guy I think is ran well here. I think him for a top 5 is a really good play. I think he'll stay out of trouble. I think he's good at these kind of speedways, these big, easy driving speedways. But I just question him going all out for a victory at this stage. I feel like, as we talked before, he's already in the playoffs. I feel like he may pick it back up when it comes playoff time, but I don't love him to win. And then I thought Eric Jones was worth a look at a top 10. He's 95-1 to win the race. I don't think he'll do that, but I think he's a guy that I think is a dangerous top 10 pick here with like plus 270. What do you think about Blaney or Eric Jones?
I definitely like the Eric Jones. I have no clue how I feel about Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, no, I know.
I have no clue, but like Eric Jones, he's had a quiet year. I heard a little rumbling, Matt, about Legacy Motor Club. Okay.
Oh.
That Noah Gragson. There's a chance he's on. I know. He's on the hot seat. I was actually laughing out loud at work thinking about this, because I kept imagining the Wendy's car under the tires. Because Legacy Motor Club is a Toyota. They run Toyotas, and Toyota isn't too high on Noah Gragson, but they're really high on John Hunter Nemechek. So that's a rumbling I heard, that Nemechek potentially to Legacy Motor Club.
I mean, to me, that makes total sense. I have not been impressed with Gragson at all. I thought he was too immature to be at the Cup Series, and not just off the track, but like on the track too. I don't think he's ready. I think he needs to go back to the minor leagues. And I think John Hunter Nemechek, we talked about it before, his rookie year, if you go back and look at it, yeah, he didn't wow anybody, but he wasn't awful. He was like, okay, he was in the low 20s to mid-teens almost every race. I had him in a fantasy league. He's like my third driver, so I followed him pretty closely. Like, he wasn't horrible. He wasn't good, but he wasn't horrible, and I feel like he's learned a lot since then. I think he would be an upgrade. What do you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what do they have to lose? They tried to bring Jimmy Johnson in and spark it up and change the name. Right. It doesn't work like that.
No.
If you're not going to be in the top 5, top 10, nobody cares that you're rebranding and changing your name and all that stuff. So whatever they can do. I mean,
and they secured good sponsors too. Like Wendy's is a good sponsor.
Yeah, the biggie bag under the tires.
I mean,
they love seeing that.
You can't turn a game on without seeing a commercial from Wendy's. I mean, it's a good sponsor. I mean, you got, and I know why it is, but like you got Kyle Larson, arguably the best driver in the fucking circuit, and he can't get any other sponsors because of his previous blunder. But yeah, I mean, literally has HendrickCars.com for every fucking race except for like two. The whole like last 3 years. Like
it's funny you say that because like when you put a truck race on, you see the 51 Hendrick in the lead, and it's Kyle Larson.
Right. Yeah, it's I don't know, but yeah. Thoughts on Chase Elliott? He's around 15-1. I think it's a playable price, but like you said, he just doesn't seem to have it right now.
Yeah, it's playable like right now on Wednesday, but like if you see the qualifying, obviously that number's
you're right.
He might qualify well, but like we said, it's a weird year, man. I don't know if it's just in his head, if he hasn't been able to get in a routine.
Right. I'm sure it's tough. I mean, Hendrick's had a lot of weird things happen this year. For as good as William Byron and Larson have been, you had all these issues with Bowman and Elliott. It's been quite odd, but I would never count those guys out. They got such good equipment, but all right, so let's pick it here. Who's your winner, and who are a couple of your long shots?
My winner, I'm going with Kyle Busch.
All right, I like it. All right. How about under the radar guys?
I wouldn't necessarily say under the radar, like because he's kind of a big name, but I think potential another Logano top 5.
I agree with that. I think that's a really, really solid bet. I think Logano top 5, Harvick top 10. If you can get, I'm looking for Joey on this sheet for. Yeah, like Joey Logano top 5 plus 225 to me, that is a fantastic number. I highly recommend that bet to anybody. I just think he's just so steady, and he's going to have a shot of contending in the race for sure. Anybody else stick out? Any long bombers? Anybody? I mean, I liked Eric Jones a little bit. You said you did too. Anybody else that could maybe dabble in and make
maybe Ty Gibbs? To be honest, because he needs the points. And it's funny, we were just talking about Gragson. Look what happens when you're on a good team, you're quiet, and you just work hard, man. That's why
I felt better with him. I feel like Ty Gibbs, and a lot of it is the product of where he came up. Like Joe Gibbs Racing has always been a very steady team, not like a crazy behaving owner type team. Like it's very steady. Everybody knows their role, and you figure he was around that so often. He knew how to be a professional before he even needed to be. And I think he's I'm very impressed with him. I think he's going to really, really be up in the top echelon here pretty quickly as he continues to get more laps under his belt.
Yeah. I mean, I thought JGR was kind of in a weird spot at the beginning of the year with like Truex, Hamlin.
Yeah, and then losing Kyle. Yeah.
Right. They're in a pretty good spot, actually.
Yeah, no, they are. Well, we got 4 races to go before the playoffs. Michigan this week, Indy Road Course. Then we got the Glen. So we got back-to-back road courses, and then we got Daytona. So I mean, that's exciting right there in itself. So if you're a guy who's on the verge of the playoffs, here's an interesting thing. You got Michael McDowell who's hanging on. Now, Michael McDowell has to be pretty excited about these races that are coming up. He's got 2 road courses in Daytona. So you figure he's licking his chops like, okay, even if I don't win, I'm going to have a shot of getting in the playoffs. Bubba Wallace is in 15th. this track he's been very good at. Do you think he has a chance to contend in here? And then what I was going to get to is, though, Michigan and Daytona. He's not a good road racer, so I would count those as potential problems for him. But do you see Bubba contending at all this week, or is it Daytona his best chance of getting in?
I think Daytona is the week that Bubba can get in. I think Daytona is going to be a wild race. I think Daytona in the Indy, the Indy road course is going to be nuts, because the drivers that are in there, I think people are going to be spinning people, because there's 3 drivers in that race that they don't have anything to do with the playoffs. They cannot get playoff points.
Sure.
So I think that it's going to be like, all right, Chicago was cute, nice to see you, but now it's like we're really going to bump. They're really like that turn 1 at Indy, Matt. It's nuts.
Right. Yeah. No. I agree, and I think, and again, shout out to NASCAR. They've had a great stretch of exciting races, and I think having Daytona as the final playoff, I mean, you couldn't set it up any better than that. I mean, that's
crazy.
That is exceptional planning by them. But here's a couple of things that I think are interesting. So you have you got Harvick, who's probably going to point his way in, assuming that more guys don't win. So we have how many winners have we had this year? I'm trying to think. There's 16, 15, 14, 13, 12 different winners, I think. So anyway, my point is you have some guys in here who are dangerous. You got Allmendayer's a road racer. He's right there. Ty Gibbs, pretty good on road courses. Daniel Suarez has been good on road courses before he forgets how to shift. Chase Elliott, very good on road courses. And then Austin Cindric. I mean, you have some guys now who are on the outside looking in who are got to be licking their chops. And then you got Brad Keselowski, who could win this week. Not the greatest road racer. Can road race, but not probably his favorite thing to do. And then Daytona, where he's really good at. So this is going to shake up pretty interestingly. I think Harvick will probably be safe, but I think Keselowski may need to win one of these races, and then Bubba and McDowell, I think, definitely do, because they're going to have the heat on them from some of these dudes coming behind who are going to be capable of winning the road course races back-to-back weeks. So what do you think about that?
We may have a lot of cautions this last week at Daytona.
Yeah.
There may be a lot.
Will there be anybody left?
Yeah. I don't know, man, because McDowell, if he needs it, man, I think he could get in.
Yeah,
I really do.
For sure. And Bubba Wallace is he has no problems knocking people around. And again, I'm not picking on him. Like, there's a lot of guys that like that. I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it. And, Chase Elliott may have a different aggression level, too. I think he's got a really good chance, though, if they can get him dialed in at Watkins Glen or Indy. I think he'll have a chance to win his way in. But, I mean, Austin Cindric could steal a playoff spot because he's such a good road racer. And he's a good plate guy, too. He's won the Daytona 500. So he's another guy. If you were able to get odds right now, and some books will have it to make the chase, I wouldn't discount him yet just because of those factors.
I know. I wouldn't either. I think you're right. If Elliott can get away or get any sort of space on these road courses, he'll take off.
Yeah.
I think so.
But can they get him to set? I mean, I feel like his setups have been okay, but not great like they have been in the past. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can't, like we said, can't ever underestimate the Hendrick team. But if you have to make a prognostication, assuming Harvick gets in, who are the 3 guys behind? So if it goes Buescher, Harvick, Stenhouse, who in your opinion right now, and this could change quickly, who gets the final 3 spots between Keselowski, Bubba, McDowell, Gibbs, Allmendinger, Suarez, Elliott, Bowman, Cindric?
Gibbs? Oh boy, this is tough.
Yeah.
I think Keselowski's going to get in.
I do too.
Keselowski gets in. Oh. McDowell. I'm going with the Loves International, Michael McDowell.
And I would be exactly the same. I have 2 the same as you. I would go Gibbs, Keselowski, and then I'm just going to take a chance. I think Elliott will win one of those road races. But I wouldn't count out a lot of them guys, Cindric as well. So, all right. Good stuff. That's fun discussion, and we got a lot more fun racing to go. This playoffs, as you saw last year with Ross Chastain and some of the things that NASCAR's done as far as the way that these guys can advance, it really makes for some fun stuff. So we'll stay tuned. We're excited about it. Sam, any parting thoughts and anything else on your mind in the sports world? Football is around the corner. What are you hearing about Steelers training camp?
Tomorrow.
Yes, Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Trice is out for the season. That's good. They lost the rookie cornerback for the season. That's good. You know what's funny is they keep showing all these great catches that like Pickens and these receivers make, but the thing that stands out to me is that they're not great throws.
Right, which is a problem.
It's like, why are we not saying, hey, these aren't great throws, these are great catches? Because I think the other defensive backs are going to pick that off. So I don't know, man. It's early. I'm still in baseball. I need Artie to get the.
No, I'm with you. I'm not. I mean, I'm getting prepared. We'll do some college football previewing and stuff on the show coming up in the coming weeks. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to playoff baseball, and NASCAR playoffs, and there's a lot of good things happening out there right now. So I don't try to get too high or low about NFL training camps, as guys get hurt and things, and then the preseason. So I do like that game under tomorrow, though. I think it'll be like
big
10-7
big
or something. I don't think anybody that's probably going to make the roster is going to be playing a whole lot in that game, but I'm sure people will be excited. You'll see every bar in America packed just because people love to hear helmets cracking against each other, and probably half of Pittsburgh will be hoping that anybody useful on the Browns gets hurt, but who knows? It'll be.
I
it'll be good.
I won't watch. I'll watch.
Yeah, no, I mean I'll have it on. I'll check it out, but then I'll be like when it's like 20 straight penalties and stuff and false starting and all that stuff. Then it
looks like the Argonauts and the Rough Riders.
Right. Yeah. Then I'll probably flip it over to baseball. But that's the beauty of having multiple TVs and screens in the house nowadays. Yeah. You don't have to just completely watch only one thing, and you can be versatile. You can have it on, you can keep up with it, but you can also listen to other things like Greg Brown going nuts over some stupid thing in a Pirate game. But yeah, so all right. Well, Sam, thanks again for joining us. As always, great analysis on every front, and have a great week. And we will see you back here on Bettor's Last Stand a week from today. Good luck with your bets.
Yes, sir, Matt. I'll talk to you. Let's go Bucks, baby.
All righty, go Bucks. All right, that's Sammy P at Upper St. Clair. We appreciate him joining us as always. Great analysis, great contributor. You can see vast knowledge, follows all the major sports very intently, and is plugged into them on every facet. And it's great to get other people's advice and things, different looks. And I can't emphasize that enough when you're doing betting, is you don't have to always agree with everybody, but listening to knowledge and making you think about it is so important. You should be challenged every day in your personal life, in your private life, or your professional life. You should challenge yourself all the time to try to be better. And knowledge is power, as they say. And the more you have, the better equipped you are to make decisions, whether it's betting, whether it's anything in life. And I can't emphasize that enough. We don't have enough of that in the country. People are so hateful towards others who have different opinions than them. We welcome all opinions on our shows, regardless of any orientation that you want to be. We want all the opinions. We love to debate it. I love the debate. I love to try to prove people wrong if I feel it's worth doing. But in this case, we're all trying to get to the same spot here, share winners, contribute, make each other think, and provide some entertainment for you. So hopefully you enjoy the show. Again, check our friends out at ICCab 304-232-13, or download that app and get your ride arranged today. The Pine Room guys swear by it. It's the best there is. George the Champ Kettlewell rides in one quite often, and he rides in style. So ICCab, our friends over there, Phil Savaggio in the group, we really appreciate it. Tate Blanchard, they do great work. Keep supporting them and, make them your go-to service. Get down to Generations. Get our Pine Room Lager. Get our Pine Room Burger, but you can get the lager pretty much anywhere. All the Gumbies, all the places around town. A lot of places have it on draft, the Alpha. So many different places that I can't think of at the very moment. But anyway, get out there, get some Pine Room Lager, enjoy those. We'll be back here next week. Football previews begin. We're going to be starting with the AFC and NFC South and the ACC and SEC. So stay tuned for that. Until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy your sports. Enjoy the summer as school gets ready. High school right around the corner. If you like high school football, be certain to tune in to our show on WKKX, The Watchdog, on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We talk a ton of college. We will talk college, but we'll talk high school football. We have lines in all the games. Obviously, we're not betting on them, but we compete with each other in fun competitions across our various members of the Pine Room. So I'll be getting my numbers ready, my power ratings for high school. We had a lot of fun with that last year, and we'll be having our Football Fridays show in the future. So stay tuned. check us out at the Pine Room Studios, all our social media. Thanks to Jubb and the crew, everybody who does what they do to make this show possible. Our friends at the Watchdog, Kayleen and Rocky, and Lola. And we're so thankful. Bob Slider and Howard Monroe, they all do awesome work. So if you haven't heard us on the radio, check that out. Check our podcast out, YouTube. We're all over the place, and we hope you're enjoying it, and we will see you next week on Bettor's Last Stand. Good luck to everybody.